Hello, everyone, and welcome to the 70th episode of the Poorly Planned Podcast. My name is Benedict. You may know me better as BHL Hudson. Here, we talk about movies, TV shows, a bunch of nonsense. With me, as always, is my friend, co-host, and in his own home, because we follow the restrictions and guidelines.
Because
buddy.
we hate each other and cannot stand each other's smells.
Frederick, who, as you all know very well, the world is in a terrible situation, and so we once again cannot record together. So, Freddy's at home, and he doesn't have a microphone, which is why his audio sounds like that, but hopefully it's okay-ish.
Hopefully it's not the worst.
We're recording via the internet, so there might be a little bit of delay here and there, but generally, this has worked, I would say, passably well in the past. So
I disagree. Also, the way you say the internet makes you sound like a 7-year-old man. We were recording over this relic known
this
as
weird box in my room.
www.
So
Also, I can't hear myself because these are noise canceling, so I can't tell if I'm like hella slurring my speech or not. We'll see.
Well, you usually do.
In this recording. That's fair.
You usually have at least a few shots of whiskey before we start the recording.
This is true. This is a podcast tradition.
It's the only way you can get through this horrific nightmare. I mean, I'm having a few shots of my protein shake over here. You know,
I thought you were going to say like tequila. No. DHL.
Today's topic for today's podcast.
Yes. And I don't know what this is yet, ladies and gentlemen.
Is we're going to do basically... there is technically a topic, but it falls under the rest of it. It's basically just an episode of mini reviews. However, the one we'll end with, and I think talk about the most, because I finished it yesterday, is in fact The Mandalorian.
The Mandalorian?
Right on the money, yes.
Amazing.
I'll be honest.
Good, because I've got a lot of mini reviews.
Oh god, well I have a lot of mini reviews as well, so this may be the longest episode of all time. Also, I would just like to put a disclaimer here. Spoilers for everything we talk about, their time codes in the description. So, yeah. So let's just jump right into this. First of all, I do just want to say I've been watching The Boys. I finished The Boys. However, there's going to be a whole episode about The Boys, so we'll save it for them. I think episode 72 will be The Boys, so, you know, we'll see what happens. Hopefully we'll be able to record together for that one. That's a special thing. So first of all, I finally caught up on Brooklyn Nine-Nine, the final season.
Oh, have you now?
Yes.
It's quite a while, sir.
Well, yeah, as you'll see from the number of mini reviews in this episode, the combination of lockdown and gap year has meant that I've been able to watch a lot of stuff. So, I've finally been catching up on shows I've wanted to watch for a while, and I finally saw how Brooklyn Nine-Nine comes to, well, not an end, there's another season coming, but season 7 comes to an end. And it was bloody delightful. I have to say, the first episode...
I don't remember what happens in the latest season.
Well, the first episode was a bit meh.
Was that where Raymond Holt was a down-to-earth, kind of incompetent police officer?
Something like that, yeah. But then the rest of it was... It was just one... It was actually... I think it was better than... I don't know, a lot of the previous seasons had been. And... yeah, just Perrault doing his thing, you know. Everyone's very charming. And actually, I think it finally hit the, I've talked about, I feel like that show sometimes misses the balance of emotional moments and funny moments. Like, the emotional moments are a bit too, like, I don't want to say sappy, but they kind of, it doesn't mesh as well. I feel like the season really meshed it well. Madeline Wunsch's funeral, and Raymond Holt gives a nice thing. That was really, and she gives birth at the end, and you know the baby's there, and I was like,
you'd hope so.
But yeah, I was just, it didn't make me cry, but then afterwards I was like, oh damn, I'm a little choked up right now. So yeah, Brooklyn Nine-Nine, very good, high recommend. What about you?
When's the new season coming out?
I think they're filming it right now, I believe. So I think probably early next year, maybe like January next year, or maybe like October or something. But yeah, not for a long time.
I'll accept this answer.
You'll be long dead.
All right. Now I want to ask you here before I get into this.
No,
we do have we've got I've got two anime things, which I think I'll just say for Freddy's Anime Hour. which obviously is a
not
regular
doing
segment of this podcast now. I do like that. So I'll start off with a classic. So
Okay.
me and my mother, who I hate but have to tolerate at times, sat down. We're like sitting there, not really having anything to do. I look at her deep in the eyes and say, "You know what? We're watching The Nice Guys."
I feel like this is a
Russell
conversation you have
and
with
God-
many women in your life. You just, even ones you
But
don't
it
know,
works out
you
best
just,
with my mom.
you just stare them down and say, "We're watching The Nice Guys." You say, "Oh,
So,
you watch?
watch-
That's one of my faves."
Watched Russell and Gosling team up. Such a good movie.
It's an absolute delight. It's very it's very in the style of Kiss Kiss Bang Bang, isn't it?
It is. I told her that we're also going to watch that sometime soon.
That's not even more delightful, but it's equally as delightful. You can imagine
Yeah,
the
it's
Downey
very, very
Jr.
good.
Kilmer combo is just it's a Kilmer combo. I'm giving him a smile right now to indicate that was in fact a joke.
To let him know that he's allowed to laugh.
That was in fact a jest on my part. What'd you think?
I mean, I love it. It's a classic. My mom, she laughed very hard when Russell casually breaks Gosling's arm, and he lets out the high pitched scream.
Yes. What a movie.
It's honestly just such a good movie. Yeah, I mean, I think we've talked about it before as well, but God, I do like it.
Was that the first time you'd seen it?
No. I think
Oh, okay.
I thought we watched it together once. In fact.
No, we all watched Kiss Kiss Bang Bang on that ski trip.
Oh, is that the one?
Yeah.
True. Ah, that's such a good ski trip.
That was a great. We should do a ski trip episode one day.
We just play the video we have from the ski trip.
We made a vlog of our ski trip. It's actually kind of epic. I'm not even gonna lie. But yeah, no, what a and the 70s style is so fun.
Yeah.
Can you imagine that Shane Black went from that movie to The Predator?
I can very much imagine.
Very similar films. I would say you're the.
I'm probably the Gosling.
You're probably
Russell.
because you're not really the Gosling, but you're definitely not the Russell. So if one of us has to be the Russell, I guess it'll be me.
Just turned into an insult.
You're more of the.
You don't have the brawn of Russell.
But you have the
don't have the charm
of the goose. Huh. Well, yeah, no, fair enough. Then, and I was gonna save this for a surprise to tell you on the pod, but I couldn't resist telling you when we called earlier in the week or last week. I have in fact been watching and loving New Girl, which is
I'm so happy about this.
the pod audience should. I hope you realize how monumental this is, because Freddy has been referring to whatever that actor's name, Jake Johnson, I don't even know it now, as Nick from New Girl since day one. And and you've been recommending it for a while, finally checked it out, and my goodness, what an absolute delight of a show.
The thing is, I love that you love it now, because by season 3 and onwards, it gets like 10 times better.
Well, I will say, season 1, while enjoyable, was trash. It was
While enjoyable, I stopped after the first episode.
It wasn't really making me laugh out loud, if that makes sense. Like it was fun, and it was like it's a cozy show, I guess you could say. Like it's a very fun thing to kind of like just chill with. But it wasn't like I don't know, it wasn't anything that, hilarious. But I also, having watched Brooklyn Nine-Nine and The Office, I know this trend of sitcoms where they start whatever, and then as you get into it,
and then
it expands. And so season 1 was fun.
So how much have you watched?
I'm about halfway through season 2, and I can already see it's picked up a bit, and it's making me guffaw constantly. So that's a Freddy clearly doesn't know what the word guffaw means. Look at this fool. But
I think you are the fool if you know what guffaw means.
But I will say, okay, I think Schmidt
favorite character.
I think Schmidt may be the best character ever created in any work of fiction ever. Schmidt is my favorite character in anything. He's so delightful.
So good.
I love
so
Schmidt.
Good.
But also I love all of them. Like they're all fun in their own way. And
Winston, you like to begin with, but he completely changes personality in season 3 for the better. But yeah, he becomes this totally weird crazy dude.
Well, he's already.
Like,
He's already starting to. There was an episode where they're doing like pranks, and then like it's a trait of Winston that he either goes way too small or way too big, and then at the end he just walks and he's like, "I'm gonna whack you in the face with a ski." And, like, you could already see the hints of Winston's strangeness incoming. But no, it's wonderful. I will say also, I get what you mean when you say you like everyone in the show except for the main character, because. Okay,
I like her, but out of everyone, I probably like her the least.
Well, that's the thing. For the first season, or at least the first half of the first season, I was like, again, like I think the first season is very enjoyable and it kind of gets you accustomed to the characters and all that. And then season 2, it kind of picks up more with the comedy, even though it's still funny. But the first season, she's a bit much. Like, it can get a bit grating, I feel. Her, like, she's quirky,
she's very all over the place.
And random, and like that's... Like, it's charming sometimes, and then it's a bit, like, I don't know, gets a little annoying sometimes. But I think they've sort of refined it more and made her, like, I think drawn it back, like, just, like, 10% and made her, so she's still wacky and goofy and, you know, all that, but more, I don't know, in a more fun and also, the more you get into the show and kind of, like, you get attached to the characters, you like her and you like the, like, her kind of, her personality and her dynamic with the group. And I also find it amusing because you've spent all these years telling me that she's your least favorite character, and I did tell you this in the phone call as well. She does remind me quite a bit of your girlfriend.
In all the best ways.
which I just found, not, you know, again, not in a bad way, in a terrible way. She's a bit, like,
I'll say
out there personality-wise, you know? Fred, you just looked at me. I don't know if that was a death stare or like a cry for help, or I don't know what that look was. Let's move on before this turns into a violent encounter.
Before this is the first episode she watches and immediately dumps me.
What's your next mini review?
Let me see which way I want to do this. One that I was thoroughly confused and slightly underwhelmed by. I hope you've seen this, so we actually have something to talk about, because I don't have much to add when it comes to this review, but I saw The Spiderwick. Have you seen this movie?
Into the Spiderwick? That was a terrible joke, I'm sorry. Spider... You're not supposed to agree. You're supposed to say, no, that was really funny, BHL. You have a great career ahead of you. You prick. The Spiderwick Chronicles. I have seen it, but a very long time ago. I read the books as a kid.
It's so stupid, I find. It's the kid from Charlie and the Chocolate Factory and Arthur and the Minimoys.
Seth Rogen's in it. Arthur and the Minimoys.
Yeah.
Arthur and Minimoys in it. First of all...
Arthur and Minimoys. Is it not the Minimoys in English?
Arthur and the Invisibles in English. God, that movie...
Is it the Invisibles?
I don't know why I watched that as a kid. I hated it, but I think I just sat through it because I was like...
What? I love that movie.
Are you kidding? Bruh. It's so...
Bruh, Arthur and Minimoys in
it. It's such a... And all the sequels, too, they're so terrifying and, like, not fun. Like, they're all... Anyway. Let's not get into this.
It's about the Spiderwick, eh?
The Spiderwick Chronicles. It has, like, trolls and stuff in it?
It's got goblins.
And
Seth Rogen plays Hogsqueal, I believe, which is like a pig goblin mutant. It's a thoroughly underwhelming movie, I'd say.
Why did you watch? That's such a random thing to watch.
I was hanging out with Yana and Sophie.
Oh.
Yeah,
so,
those idiots.
I'm sorry.
Terribly sorry you had to go through that. 10 times more painful than the Spiderwick. But yeah, it's just such a bad movie, honestly. Like none of the characters are very likable, except for this one goblin who's called Redcap, who you just feel sorry for because he's a bumbling fool.
You related to him.
Yeah, I was like, that's my friend BHL.
Freddy looked at me again. This time his look was very, very clear.
It's a bit of a mess of a movie. There's like this overlord demon dude who can like turn into any animal. And then he needs to get this book of secrets so he can destroy the world. But he's allergic to like tomato sauce or something.
I feel like you're just
tomato. Yeah, it's.
I feel like this is a violent fever dream you had.
Yeah, honestly, it is not great. Cannot recommend it.
Well, I remember liking those books as a kid, but
Sure, honestly, I'm sure the books are better.
Well, then speaking of shows that I finally caught up on and finished, I watched the latest season of Archer. A little throwback to the beginning of the pod where we talk about Archer each week. Because if you recall, after I think about season 8 or something, they did a storyline where Archer gets shot and falls in a pool and goes into a coma. And then the next 3 seasons are in different genres. So like one is like he's in space, and one is he's a detective in the 1920s. So they're all like his like coma dreams. And I watched one of them, and it was fine. It was like I liked that they were being creative with it and doing this kind of new thing, but it wasn't funny really anymore. And I don't think like.
But it made me severely sad.
Like it was not like they were trying super hard to be funny and it failed. It was just they kind of changed the style a bit where it wasn't the same kind of sense of humor, and I don't know. It was more. I guess it was interesting, but I didn't really find it as engaging, and especially for what that show kind of like was. So I dropped off. But then they released the latest season a few months ago, and it's a season where he gets out of the coma and it goes back to like the normal thing. And I watched it and I was like, this is why I loved the show. It made me guffawing is not even the word to describe.
I don't even know what that means.
It means laughing very hard. Or something along those lines.
Where's that from? Is that just a weird fancy word, you know?
Yes. I know many. Why do you think I run a podcast?
Obviously.
But
you just got a script of like 100 good words to use while podcasting.
But no, it's just absolutely hilarious and delightful, and he's so like awful, and just his insults are so hilarious. Dude, I think you would genuinely like it. It's such a good show. Just his like bluntness and the voice actor form is so perfect. It's such a great show. Absolutely.
Who voice acts him? Does he do anything like any actual acting?
Yeah, I think he makes like cameos and stuff. H. John Benjamin. He's mainly a voice actor. I think he was in 21 Jump Street briefly, and like he makes little cameos here and there. But yeah, no, he has a very distinct voice, and yeah, no, just a lovely thing. So Archer season 11, bloody great. Can't wait for season 12, which I think is coming out later this year. I hope. So yeah.
Oh,
good stuff.
Great.
All right, hit me.
I watched as a positive and much needed follow up to the Spiderwick. Train to Busan.
Oh.
Do you know this?
Yeah, isn't that quite dark?
It's a Korean zombie movie. It is.
Oh, I was thinking something else. But yes, I have heard of this.
So good. It is. I genuinely think we should watch this at some point because it is. God, it's an amazing movie. I don't know if it got nominated for Oscars. Wait, let me see.
I've heard of it, yeah. Train to Busan. It's a horror movie, right?
Yeah, it's like a zombie flick, but in a very awards.
I can definitely see where you made the connection between this and the Spiderwick Chronicles.
Okay, it won a lot of awards, not Oscars, but other awards. Anyways, yeah, it's both like a very, very scary movie. A very well acted movie. The characters in it they're so well done because they're like almost two extremes where either you love the characters and you love them like you die for them, or you hate them like to bits. There's this one guy who's just the worst person in the world. And it's basically like it's like these they get on a train. It's like the main people are a little girl and her dad. And they're going to Busan, which is a city in Korea. Right. And they're on this like Korean like lightning train, I think they're called. And
bullet train.
As they're on it, bullet train, yeah. And then as they're on it, like the zombie apocalypse breaks out, and people on board also get like infected and stuff like that. It is such a good movie, and I won't even lie to you. It did get an FTK Gaming tier at the end.
Oh my goodness! Really?
So
that's pretty rare for for any movie to get the FTK Gaming tier, but especially for like a horror movie, not the one you would expect.
It is. I think you would love it. So that's a big recommend.
All right, I'll
I don't want to say too much because I don't want to spoil it, but once you watch it, we need to have an in-depth talk about it on the pod because
Well, absolutely. I've heard the name, but I never really looked into it. But yeah, it sounds fascinating. Then, by the way, just for people who've never listened before, who are kind of wondering what this is, normally we do a segment at the start of the show where we talk about what we've seen this week. And since we haven't recorded a new episode for a few weeks, now we're just doing like a full thing of what we've watched the past few weeks, just in case you don't know
We've
what.
gotten to the 30-minute mark, and they're sitting there. What am I watching?
It's so weird but fascinating. I watched Indiana Jones and the Last Crusade because it was on
Which one
TV.
is that? Is that the one with the Nazis?
They're all with the Nazis, and by all I mean half of them. But yes, it has Nazis in it, and it's the one where he's like, Nazis, I hate these guys.
It's the one where he's like, Nazis.
He just looks directly into the camera. Nazis. He meets Hitler, and Sean Connery's in it as well. And he's like, our situation has not improved. That's my. That was a pretty nasally Connery. Sorry, but
Yeah.
he's his dad, and it's just an absolute, just a delightful adventure. I still think the first one's the best, but this one.
Is that the one where they melt?
Yeah, like that's. I think that's like because it's so classic, and it's. But this one, I think it might be a bit more like. I mean, they're both extremely fun, but this one might be a bit more fun. It's just action packed. There are freaking boat chases and camel chases and tank fights and fist fights and all that. It's such a delight.
I like how you kind of like rank those things up. It goes from boat chase to camel chase.
Yeah, no, that's the next logical step.
The most intense action scene is just Sean Connery on a two-humped camel.
So yeah, just a classic there.
Just classic.
I watched in the pursuit of, watching a bunch of classic movies and all that, watched Gladiator for the first time.
Was that the first time?
Yeah.
Oh, what'd you think?
I thought old Russell did his thing pretty well. That's my review of Gladiator. No.
IMDb. Well, what do you have to say about this? Russell did his thing, all right? It's
I don't know. Maybe if I saw it in the cinema, I would be more blown away by it. I didn't think it was absolutely insane. Like, I can see why it's so...
I think that's one of my favorite movies, honestly.
It's very iconic, and, like, it does everything well, and it's epic, and the battle scenes are
Safe
good.
to say, you were not entertained?
Very good. That's the best joke you ever made on this pod. No, I was entertained. I think maybe it highlighted the difference between watching something, on your TV and in the cinema.
Something good and something bad.
But yeah, it was. I mean, the whole scale of it is absolutely incredible, and like the sets and the extras and the effects, and who makes an appearance? He's pretty good.
Who is there?
Wait,
who's there?
Got him. Yeah, it was good. Like emotion wise, I was just like, I don't know. I didn't like absolutely floor me, but it was everything I was expecting would be. And so yeah, no, good stuff. And I think maybe I'm just gonna lump real quick a bunch here that I don't think we really have to get into too much from this thing that I've been trying to watch a bunch of classic movies. There's A Trip to the Moon from 1902, which is
1902.
It's like a silent movie. Very, very.
Why are you watching all these like movies going to like space and stuff where they can barely film?
This is not about
potato.
This. It's very. I find it more interesting to like kind of read about it afterwards with this kind of thing and like the process of it. And then I'm a bit
of an analyst myself.
Once Upon a Time in the West. From the 60s, which is an amazing movie, but I just don't think we would have much to say about it. It's just one of the most iconic westerns ever.
Is that with Eastwood?
No, it's the only western without Eastwood, in fact. And then Metropolis from 1927, which I think you might have heard of. It's kind of like the default like old movie. Like if you ask people like what's the oldest movie ever?
I've heard of Metropolis before, but I no clue what it's about.
It's about like the future and different classes and all kinds of stuff. It's very long and silent.
Okay.
But again, I find it more like it's not something I would put on like on a Friday afternoon when I'm just trying to relax, but as someone who enjoys
But it is something I'd go to a party to and show everyone.
As someone who enjoys like film and filmmaking and analyzing film, I found it very interesting to watch and then also, research a little bit afterwards. And I also, just one thing that I do want to mention that I find amusing. Because obviously, like, the 1920s, and especially in filmmaking, like, it's very different. Like, all the actions are very exaggerated because it's a silent movie, so they all run kind of like Tom Cruise Muppet style. But I did also find it amusing story-wise that at one point the main character sees what he thinks is this woman he's in love with hugging his father, and that moment is so traumatic for him that he is sent into a coma with fever dreams, which was kind of a little bit amusing to me. That he just, because also I guess they couldn't show anything like that extreme then, so it's just like her hugging his dad, and then he walks in and he just falls to the floor and then has nightmarish dreams for like for several minutes. It's very good, but generally I can see why it's very influential and very all that, but we don't talk about such intellectual things on the Poorly Planned, so we'll just
no, please
move on from
save that for the main channel.
Go ahead, sir. What is your next one?
Well, I believe it's time for
the Timecodes. What'd you say? I was busy doing something.
What the hell did you just say to me? I said Freddy's Anime Hour.
Oh,
God.
I'm not putting in the theme song. I appreciate Kane working on it, but I told you I would never.
Please put in the theme song. Please.
Absolutely.
Do this for me.
Never not.
So, I don't remember I talked about this on the last pod, but a show I very much enjoy called Attack on Titan, which is probably, like, if I were to say watch like an anime to someone who's never watched an anime, it would either be this one or Death Note, because it is just like, it's
I've
so
seen the first
epic.
episode.
Oh, right!
Yeah. It's funny, actually, my cousin and I were texting this week, and he actually told me, like, I should watch Attack on Titan. And I was like, God damn it, Freddy's gonna bring this up, isn't he?
Oh, you really should. It is such a good show. It's one of the most, like, bloody and, like, violent shows you'll ever see, but it's also very, like, very emotional and so epic. It's got some of the most cool characters in series history. Yeah, it's so good. It's so good.
I think the reason...
Yeah, go on.
I was just gonna say, I think the reason I didn't kind of keep up with it was because I saw the first episode when I was quite young. I think I might have been 13 or something, and I was not the man I am today who watches The Boys, obviously the most crazy show ever. But I was not. It kind of scared me a little bit. So
no, the first episode especially it's kind of traumatic. But no, I think you'd very much enjoy it. It's very, very cool. Voice acting is also really good. But yeah, so the latest season's coming out, and the last season. This is the last season. One episode comes out every week. So I've been following that, and it's just, it's so good.
It's good.
It's so good. Lumping that together with another anime. Darling in the Franxx. I don't know if you've heard of that.
You're making this shit up at this point. You're just saying words and then being like, no, that's my favorite anime. Darling in the Franxx.
A very, very good. It's a mech anime, which is like there's like robotic suits and stuff like that involved.
I know what a mech is. Mechs aren't exclusively like an anime thing. I know what Titanfall, and I've watched Edge of Tomorrow. All right, God.
Oh right, does Edge? Oh, it does count.
Don't disrespect me like this.
A very good show. Halfway through it now, and yeah. I mean, I won't say you should watch it because I don't think you will, but I do enjoy it.
I appreciate the self-awareness there. I mean, look, I'll take your recommendations. Obviously, I watched Nick from New Girl's show. Can't remember the name of it. But when it comes to anime, I think when I kind of start to get more into it, I'm going to start with some more mainstream stuff and not Frank in the Tank or whatever it's called. Then another quick batch of classic movies. I watched Taxi Driver, The Princess Bride, Gone with the Wind, and Citizen Kane. So, I don't really have much to say about them. They're all... Well, The Princess Bride is delightful, Taxi Driver is excellent, Citizen Kane is excellent, and Gone with the Wind, I'll be honest, wasn't really that big of a fan of. It's very... Like, I can appreciate, some parts of it, but it's extremely long and meandering, and it's just unlikable people being unlikable for most of it. And I mean, like, the last hour is basically just two pretty terrible people arguing about how terrible they are. There's some very impressive like filmmaking, like in terms of scale and these sets that they have, and some of the stories compelling. Obviously, this is also, I'm not even going to get into like the problematic aspect of it, because you know, the way it portrays the Old South and slavery and that kind of stuff. But just as a movie, it's, I don't know. I think it has definitely good parts to it and good performances and all that, but just, I don't know, it's not really, there was just, I felt like there was just so much kind of meandering and just people being awful.
Is it 1927 it's from?
No, 1939.
39.
Yeah,
okay.
But
I don't know where I pulled that one out of my ass.
Yeah, that's very random. But yeah, anyway, so that's that. But yeah, I mean, still has its again. I hope to maybe make a video like more in depth about these on my channel. But you know, it still has its merits. But of the ones that I've watched so far, it's probably towards the bottom of favorite. Like the
including the 1902 movie where they don't go to space.
But yeah, no, it's still good. Anyway, I'll talk about it more some other time. But yeah, go ahead, sir.
Well, I'm
okay, excellent. All right, cool. Well, we're getting close to The Mandalorian, so I'll kind of rattle through these real quick. I watched Lock, Stock, and Two Smoking Barrels, which is it's Guy Ritchie's, I think, first film.
Actually, I'm not all out. I'll say something.
God damn it. So it's like his first. So it's quite in the style of Snatch and The Gentleman. It's Statham.
I still haven't watched Snatch. I really want to.
You should. This is basically the same movie. That's not the same movie, but it's very, very similar to Snatch. It's very fun. It's very, very British. Okay. It's delightful how like all the stories tie together.
Those two don't go hand in hand.
Like as you know from kind of Guy Ritchie movies, it's a bunch of different stories and British people being British, and then they all tie together in the end, and it's very fun. And yeah, his movies just, I don't know, they go by very quickly. Like, they're very fast-paced and enjoyable and, like, have great music and good performance. Yeah, and funny, too. Very funny. So, yeah, good movie. Then go ahead.
So, I've been watching the latest season of Vikings.
Ah.
And I have to say, while it's still epic, still cool, it really has... But you haven't seen Vikings, have you?
No. I'm considering it.
Okay.
Persuade me.
Sell me this pen. Then I won't go too in depth either here, because I don't want to spoil anything. But after, I think midway through season 4, something happens, and then from there and onwards, it's just kind of been going on a steady, like, gradual decline of like, at least plot quality, I think, because they keep introducing new characters, and then immediately kill them or give them, like, make them king or something. It's very, like, all over the place right now. Whereas the first, like, 4 seasons were very focused and way more grounded than it is now. So whilst it's still good, still epic, I would not say it's as good as it used to be.
All right, fair enough. Is it? I thought it did it just end recently? Actually.
So yeah, so this is the last season I'm watching.
Because I was gonna watch it on Netflix, and then I saw it just ended, and I was like, if it just ended, I don't know if I want to. Maybe I'll save that for a little down the line. But yeah, a lot of shows kind of, once they go past the season 4-ish mark, like Game of Thrones as well, kind of diminish a little bit.
No, so like, because also what they've done is, like, the first 4 seasons I think were around 12-15 episodes. And then the latest 2.5 were 24 episodes.
Ugh.
All like an hour long, just kind of filling it with stuff.
Yeah.
So, and the thing is, like, one like thing that they hyped up so much in, like, part, like, the beginning of the season, like, dies out mid-season and then has no impact on anything later on. So it's kind of like, yeah, it's a little all over the place right now, I'd say. So Vikings, shape up.
So you'd say it's a bit like Game of Thrones-esque, how they sort of, towards the end, it started like a lot of plot things that have been set up weren't very satisfying, and it kind of was a bit...
I wouldn't... it's not in the same way, I don't think, because
okay.
This one, there's still some very, very cool moments, because I think Game of Thrones, there's so much, like, anticipation, and you're like so many expectations to meet. Whereas this, nobody likes Vikings, so there's no expectations.
Fair.
I think people are less disappointed, but the plot is just not as good in the later seasons, I think. But still very enjoyable. Still some very epic moments.
Well, there you go. Vikings 2 out of 10. I watched the first 2 episodes of WandaVision, which came out this week.
I really want to watch that. How is it?
Positively delightful. That's really, really good. So it's in the style of... Each episode is in the style of a sitcom from a different decade. So the first one, I believe, is a 1950s sitcom. The second one is like a 60s one, or something like that. And so it's basically like it's as if they made a TV show about Wanda and Vision in like the 50s. So it's basically a full normal episode of that, except then at the end and like throughout, you kind of start to get hints that like something's a bit weird and something's a bit off. And they like they're probably
kind of mysterious.
It's very because that's the thing. I love that sort of thing where it's like, and especially I don't know.
It's kind of eerie in its own way.
Yeah. I love these eerie where you slowly you're realizing that something's. I mean, obviously it's not the most subtle thing in the world. Like at one point they just sort of I won't spoil it, but it's that being said, they do sort of show it in subtle ways, like even how the camera movement changes at certain points where it goes from like the 50s like style of filming a sitcom to then like a more modern style, and you can kind of tell something's different. So they're probably trapped in another dimension, or Wanda's made some kind of thing, or they're prisoners of someone.
Wanda's
I don't know.
Some shit up.
Yeah, but I genuinely think it's very cool. Not only that, but also the fact that the episode itself, like this like 50s parody sitcom episode, and like the second episode especially as well, are like genuinely fun episodes of TV. Like obviously it's very simple and you know, silly and whatever, but it's like it's well made. Like it's fun. Like I find myself even like kind of getting invested in like the fake episodes like storyline. So I don't know. It's really also they're both really good at this being like these like 1950s 1960s kind of actors, and Paul Bettany's absolutely delightful. He has an episode where he's like drunk Vision because a piece of gum gets stuck in his like gears. It's very funny. So yeah, good stuff.
What?
It's good. You should watch it.
I really do want to watch it. I'm also leeching off my girlfriend's Disney Plus, so I can't.
Well, there you go. There. Just stay with her for about like a few more weeks. Get through WandaVision.
And then I can...
I've also been watching Better Call Saul lately. Pretty good. Not much to say. Just a good show.
I still haven't watched that show, honestly.
And then the final one before The Mandalorian, I watched the Bourne Identity. All Matt Damon doing his thing.
Which one is that? Is that the first one?
Yes. I wouldn't have watched the third one first.
Have you not seen the other ones?
No, this is my I saw the most recent one in the cinema. And I was kind of like, I don't really understand most of this because I have not seen the previous 4 movies.
Sitting there with popcorn. I have no clue what's going on.
Dad, why'd you drag me to this? But yeah, no, it's very good. It's a bit more low, like compared to what probably the rest of the series is, and like what you kind of heard about Jason Bourne. It's a pretty like low budget movie. Like there isn't like the big finale is just like he kind of like shoots like 3 guys basically, but it's a really good thriller. It's tense and like an intriguing story, and the action's really good, except for some very cartoonish sound effects occasionally. But besides that, the action's really good, and Matt does his thing.
Does the Wilhelm scream not always throw you off when you hear it in movies?
Yeah, I mean, depends on where it's used. Because
I always like because it's sometimes used in like
if you're using a serious thing,
action movies,
then it kind of
like it. It takes me completely out of it. I'm like, what are you doing, Wilhelm?
I don't remember if it was in. I think it might have been in this one actually. Because like when it shows up in a Star Wars movie, the whole movie's kind of a bit silly and fun and all. So it doesn't really, or like an Indiana Jones. But yeah, I think it actually did show up in this, and I was a bit. That's an odd choice, or maybe it was something else kind of dramatic I watched. But yeah, no, overall, good Damon action. That's my review of that. And finally, let's talk about the MANDALORIan. The Pedro DeLorean. So I finally caught up with both seasons of old Mando and gang. And by gang, I mean little green baby man.
God, also very cute, very cute.
Yeah, No, actually, really,
No, I
really gross.
I hate him.
I think. Well, let's just dive into it, and obviously spoilers for both seasons. I think Baby Yoda he was a like stroke of genius in terms of marketing. Like, I mean, I do not think the show would be as big as it was if it hadn't had that like
Oh no,
meme
definitely
and
not.
that pop culture kind of thing. But I think it's also the good part, I guess, is that I can't tell which came, like, if that idea came first and then it just sort of like they were like, and it'll be great for marketing, or if they thought up this idea just to market it, because he does make for a compelling story that he has to return this child, and
Yeah.
so I don't think it doesn't feel, it's a bit like Baby Groot. It doesn't feel like that forced, even though sometimes you're a little bit like, I mean, it's probably to sell little plushy toys or whatever, but it fits with the story, so I don't really have a problem with it.
It does.
And he's cute,
And I want to cuddle waddle him. It's whatever. I'd say, I think by far, I guess this is more of an overarching thing, but I love the fact that you don't have to be a hardcore Star Wars fan to actually enjoy the show. Like, I don't really like Star Wars that much in general, but this show is just so good.
Yeah, I think that's one of its biggest strengths, is the way it plays to both the like Star Wars fan crowd and the non-Star Wars fan crowd, because if you're a hardcore Star Wars fan, a lot of this stuff is going to like blow your mind, and even as a very casual fan myself, I do think it's cool to see how it expands in the Star Wars world in certain ways. Like, I don't know, I like this proves my my casualness. I don't even know what they're called, but the X-Wing pilot guys, the Rebel guys, whatever. The fact that they're they're basically like the cops of this like new world after the original trilogy. Like, I think that's an interesting concept, and the way they talk about certain things, and but then also it's not like required. It's also just kind of like a badass adventure show.
I think it's also good that that Pedro isn't tied down by like lore and history, because it's a completely like original character that's been made up for the show. There's no like previous history based on what this certain Mandalorian did and stuff, so they can kind of just like do whatever,
Yeah, no, it's especially in this age of like, especially with Star Wars where everything is tied in. I mean, it does tie in big ways, which we'll get to, but it is nice to
but like
have
at least
this.
the main character doesn't.
Yeah, and you don't know like where he's gonna end up and where he's gonna go, and so the ways it does tie in, we can talk about, especially in season 2. There's a lot of tie-ins. Ahsoka Tano shows up.
Yeah.
Who
the weird-haired lady.
Yeah, I've seen her a lot before in like pictures, and she's very famous.
I know, I've seen her so many. Yeah, like in the Star Wars cartoon.
Yeah, the Clone Wars, I believe it's called. The Star Wars fans are punching me right now. But again, I don't feel like it was that forced. Like it worked in the story well enough where even if you don't know her, like we don't, it still works. And then what's the other one? Boba Fett shows up, which that one's felt a little bit like, I won't say forced, but I think the tie into the story there was a bit loose.
It's not the smoothest thing.
No, but it was solid. And then at the end, CGI face Luke Skywalker shows up, which was not great.
That CGI is terrible. Like he just shouldn't have talked, and then it would have looked fine.
They should get Sebastian Stan. He looks exactly like young Mark Hamill. Just get another actor. Like, even if it's not Sebastian Stan, just get another. If he has the haircut, he has the robe, he has the glove, he has the green lightsaber, we'll know it's Luke Skywalker. You don't need to do this like this. It kind of boggles my mind.
I'm Luke? Doesn't he also say that I'm Luke Skywalker?
No, there are a million ways to not have to do that. Like, I don't know.
It was so off-putting to see this weird like toady face.
They keep
of, like,
doing
young
it
Mark
too.
Hamill.
Like I don't know who keeps telling them to do this stuff. Like,
but Disney, what the hell?
Like, I think ever since Rogue One, it's maybe been in every single. No, but it's in Rogue One. It's in The Rise of Skywalker. It's in this now. It's like, even when it shows up in like, I think the best it's ever been was in Guardians of the Galaxy 2 with young, I was about to say Russell Crowe. That's not who it is. Kurt Russell. That was the only one where, like, I'm like, I kind of, because it just, his mouth doesn't move right. Like, I don't know. It's so.
No, it doesn't at all.
And I like how we've for a show that I really loved, we've gotten to like the one thing that I really didn't like.
No, this is genuinely the one thing that really bothers me with the show is this ending.
Yeah, no,
it's a good ending plot wise and everything, but the way they've executed Luke's face is awful.
Stupid mushy CGI man face, just very upsetting. But the rest of the show, I think I really enjoyed how action packed and like movie quality it is, because I think I'm going to mention this in my review, but you know, like Agents of S.H.I.E.L.D., that's very clearly the TV version of like an MCU movie. It's much smaller scale, even from the way it's shot and everything, and that's fine. Like also it had presumably much lower budget, and it's not on Disney Plus and all that. That's fine. But I'm just saying, like, I think it's really cool for
also,
this.
No one would pay a lot of money to see Phil Coulson.
For this, I think it's really cool that it's basically a movie, and just like the story is suited for longer form storytelling, and so that's why it's like the production value and the effects. It's like it's
I was gonna say,
mind-blowing.
what do you think the budget per episode is?
I think it might have been 10 million per episode. Isn't that what they did for Game of Thrones? 10 million budget per episode. 15 million per episode. Yeah.
Damn.
Which for what, 16 episodes? That's
16.
I'm not doing that math in my head.
200 something.
240 million for like these 2 seasons. So that's, I mean, 120 million is basically like the budget of could be the budget of like one of these big movies, you know? So yeah, it's all these effects, and also you know how they didn't use green screen, they used projectors. Have you heard about that?
I've not heard about that, no.
So they invented a whole new technique, because Jon Favreau, after working on Lion King and Jungle Boy, his 2 most famous films, they made these like green screen, blue screen worlds that like he kind of found developments in it where he was like, okay, if we do this different, and then they've come up with this thing where they project the background instead of using a blue screen. So the actors like see the background, and then it also like it moves with the camera. It's amazing. And it looks totally, so basically the whole show is, I guess, shot in like one room essentially, and you would never know, you know, because it looks so real. And
damn, that is very cool.
Yeah, no, it's just
Favreau is probably one of the best directors.
Favreau's a legend
of our time, don't you think?
of mankind. Favreau for president.
Favreau.
That's the thing. Like, there's a big action, like a significant action scene, like every episode. It's pretty awesome. And the action's great, and there's a big variety of it. And yeah, no, I think also the fact that it's 8 episodes per season, and each episode, like some of them are as short as like maybe like 25 minutes without credits. I think it's great that it's not drawn out to be something it's not. Like, it's just what it should be, you know?
Yeah, I agree. What do you think of the like supporting characters? Do you like the woman?
Gina Carano. She's a former MMA fighter, by the way. Don't know if you knew that.
Is she?
Yeah.
She's the one in Deadpool, right?
Yeah. So she's successfully made the jump to actress, but she's good. Yeah. She's her and who's the other guy? It's Apollo Creed.
The Guild Master. I thought it was, but I was like,
yeah.
Oh my god, it's so weird. It is Apollo Creed, isn't it?
Yeah, they're very good.
But he looks. How many? He hasn't changed at all, almost.
Well, you know what's funny is because of the way Apollo Creed dies in those movies, and then I don't think I've seen anything else with. I think it's Carl Weathers with that actor. I just kind of assumed that the actor died in the 80s, so it's kind of. I'm like, oh wait a minute, that is Apollo Creed.
He must be super old now. Doesn't he?
Yeah,
he's like what? But he doesn't look that old in.
He's 73
in The Mandalorian. 73. He does not look 73. At least I don't think.
No, he looks good for his age. I'll give you that, Weathers.
My mind is good on you, Weathers.
I will say one thing I didn't love so much is, although the overarching plot I thought was quite interesting with Moff Gideon and the child and all this stuff, the way that most episodes are feel quite a bit like a video game side quest at times. Like, it's like he goes to this planet and is like, I'll give you this information, but first, if you help me do this random kill this giant sand slug or whatever. And like the fact that
That
happens.
was a good episode, though. Don't even lie.
Well, no, I mean it leads to. It's like fun, but it got. I don't know. At a certain point, it got so repetitive that I was like, okay, he's gonna go to this cantina, and then he's gonna say, "Hey, can you help me?" And they're like, "Yes, but only first if you help me deal with this problem." And it's sort of like, and then he deals with the problem, and then like it got a bit repetitive. To the point.
I see what you mean.
But in general, I enjoyed the idea of this like space adventure and going to these different. I love the idea of these different planets and creatures and all that. I just think they should have maybe cut one of those like side missions and tied it more into the overall plot. But
yeah, I see what you mean. What's the guy in that Sandslug episode? He's also a pretty famous actor. Oliphant, that's the one. What is it?
Magnificent hair on that man in that episode. Just absolutely
very
powerful.
Very true.
Garfield-esque. He's
like how Garfield is the god tier of hair.
He's in The Office briefly, and that's how I mainly know him. But he's in other stuff. I think he's Hitman. Yeah, he's Hitman. He's in Once Upon a Time in Hollywood. He's in Rango. But I know him as what's he called? Handsome man from The Office. The guy who shows up and he's like more handsome than Jim, and he dated Pam, and Jim's like, grr.
Oh, right.
That episode.
And Jim does his pouty face.
Jim goes up to him and goes, grr. No, he's charming. I'd love to see more of him in the show, like if he comes back.
Yeah. I don't think he will, though, in fairness.
Also, oh my god, I just had the worst realization. You know who is in the Bourne Identity? Very random, but in this control room of CIA guys, they're all walking around being like, look, we found Jason Bourne's location in France or whatever the fuck. And then I was like, wait a minute. That's Walton Goggins.
No.
Which is a horrific realization for any human being.
Is that his one scene? Or is he actually in it more?
He's in a couple of scenes, but he's like just I think this was before he was famous at all, so he's just like a background, kind of like, he has like 2 lines or something. But he's like,
fucking god, it's Walton Goggins.
But he's young, but he's still, I mean, the hairline isn't looking too not receding. I don't know why I said that. That was really good. But
poor Goggins.
Yeah. Anyway. So yeah, that's
moving on from the Goggins roast.
Those are my Goggins thoughts for this week. Mandalorian.
Is that a weekly thing?
Pedro is fantastic as
Pedro really is.
He has such a, I don't know, it takes a skill to act well when like the audience can't see your face at all. And also he has this like gravelly, like kind of badass voice. And he finds that balance really well of like having this cool gunslinger voice, but also still, communicating some emotion. And also that armor is fucking badass. That is a cool looking.
It really is.
Cool looking
also,
armor.
I'll say one of the like most powerful moments in the show, I feel, is when he like just takes off the mask without hesitation to save.
Yeah.
Like to get the face scan in the second season. I was like, damn.
Yeah,
Pedro, you really do love Yoda.
I think that's a really good kind of plot element that they set up well. So when it's like you kind of know when they keep talking about he's never going to take his money. You kind of know he's going to, but they set it up really well. So when he does, it's impactful.
It's quite powerful. Mm-hmm.
Other than then in the end, he's just like, Baby Yoda, check it out. Here's my face. I'm Pedro.
I'm Pedro.
Name's Pascal. Nice to meet you.
Name's Pascal. Nice to meet you. Everyone runs away.
Yeah. No, that dude's in a lot of stuff.
He is. He really is.
He's having a good year.
Done well. he's having a good one. What do you think of the legend, the cinema legend that is Bill Burr, who's in it?
I like Bill Burr a lot. It's always funny to see someone who's sort of like a comedian who usually like rips everything to shreds, like appearing in something kind of genuinely. Because like if they fuck it up, then it's sort of extra embarrassing because they usually make fun of people, and he's really good. Yeah. So fair play to you.
He really is. I also like the droid scene, or not the scene, the episode where like the droid that like pilots the ship with Bill Burr in it. That's Richard Ayoade.
Who's that?
You know who that is?
No.
He's the. You'll probably have like you'll know him if you see his face.
Richard.
It's the guy. Have you seen the clip where it's like, Richard and then AYOADE, I think.
I do not know this man.
Do you not? Oh, okay. He's like he's a British comedian.
Oh, I do know this guy. I do know this guy.
Right?
Yeah.
He's the
droid?
He's the droid that voices in that one, who then tries to kill Baby Yoda.
Interesting. That's
Yeah. And Taika voices the other droid.
Taika's pretty good.
I was genuinely sad he died.
Taika has. I thought it was going to be another like Korg like Taika's, goofy, jokey man, but he was, he played it pretty straight, pretty droid like. That was pretty good. I was gonna say, I liked the giant spider episode. That was pretty good. Again, it was sort of like side mission-y, but it was. I love the idea of this like fantasy universe where they can just whoever like comes in to make like a show or a movie, and it can just add like creative crazy shit and just these giant spiders. I mean, and now also Star Wars has had its giant spider thing because like Harry Potter, Lord of the Rings, it's kind of inevitable. So good to see.
Kind of a milestone for them.
I feel like there's something else I wanted to. I've literally gone to Google Images and just looked up The Mandalorian. I'm looking through photos to see if like it reminds me of something to talk about. But I like the brutality of it as well. Like it's not obviously like ray guns, like blasters are pretty PG way to get away with
cartoony,
brutal murder. But in the final episode, he just straight up snaps a dude's neck. I was like, "Damn, Pedro, that's pretty intense." Also,
what about we haven't addressed Los Pollos Gideon.
Should not have made me laugh. Los Pollos Gideon. No, I mean, I will say this is probably the weakest role I've seen him in of the three.
I'd say this is probably the shittiest performance in cinema.
Because I'm watching 3 shows at the moment, or I was, The Boys, The Mandalorian, and Better Call Saul, and he's in all of them. And I think this is the one where he's the least, like, impactful in my pick, because in Better Call Saul, obviously, he's Gus, and, everyone knows about Gus. And in The Boys, I think the fact that he stands up to, like, someone like Homelander, I think, and, like, he has that, like, unflinching, like, doesn't even give a f*** that he's, like, standing from someone who can kill him. Like, that's really good. And here, he was a bit sort of just, like, they needed an evil guy to be an Imperial guy. And he plays it well, but it wasn't, like...
He does.
He was...
He's not the most fleshed out character either.
Yeah, he was just, like, he was a pretty good bad guy. I guess, I know he has more, like, he can do more, and I feel like the character kind of limited that a bit. But, no, he's great. I mean, Giancarlo is just... I feel like they just say like, okay, we need a bad guy. Like let's get Giancarlo on the phone. Yeah, and I also enjoyed the Star Wars versions of like everyday stuff, like Star Wars Cyanide. It's just kind of like random, but like the Imperial guy, he like bites down, just his face electrocutes, and they have like the Star Wars version of fishing. Like sometimes it's a bit like it just feels like they're doing like, okay, it's like our world but weird. But I enjoyed. I don't know. I also enjoyed the woman with the eggs who he helps across the spider planet.
The frog lady?
Yeah, and the I Have Spoken guy. Yeah, again, even though I didn't love the dynamic
that's kind of sad that he died.
Yeah, I didn't love this like video game side quest kind of feel to some of the episodes, but I do like that we get to meet all these kind of fun characters and worlds and yeah.
I'm also excited for what's to come next, because he's got the dark saber, whatever it's called now. Which the other girl really wanted.
Forgot about that.
So and it's like whoever wields that is the king of Mandalore or something.
So it's pretty embarrassing that I watched this last night. I don't really remember. I found the whole cultural, like the whole Mandalorian culture aspect of it, where like he refuses to take off the mask, and then the other Mandalorians are like, oh, he's like one of the, like that's actually like kind of weird to them. Like I thought it was interesting world building there, and yeah, I think. I mean, I'll be honest, I don't really have much connection to that Mandalorian girl character.
No, she was almost kind of annoying, honestly. I'm kind of glad she didn't get it.
I mean, even with...
you go, Pedro.
Also, Giancarlo gets a pretty like, over-the-top nutty villain moment there. He's like, well, little do you know, she has to defeat you in battle now.
He does look exceedingly nutty in that scene.
He does have like a real good villain overacting. It's kind of, I feel like Giancarlo, after playing these like really intense like dramatic characters, he gets to kind of mess around a little bit. I think that's pretty enjoyable. But yeah, but it also, I mean, it's kind of like the season, a bit like The Boys, which we'll talk about, the season kind of ended as if, like, the series could pretty much end there if they wanted to. Like, yeah, there's the Darksaber thing set up, but besides that, like, Luke showed up, Baby Yoda's there, like, they defeated this Giancarlo man, like, it's pretty... it's pretty good.
What else is there?
The prison episode was also awesome.
Yeah, that was really good.
Yeah, no, and I don't know, I think it's so cool. Like, this is the thing where, like, I don't want movies to come, like, I want to see movies in the cinema, but this kind of thing where, like, you can see movie quality stuff, like, that's meant to be, like, TV, I think it's crazy that I can just, like, watch this at home, like, on my TV.
Yeah.
Yeah, no, it's a badass show. And also the Western style of it is awesome. Even in the theme, there's a bit of that, like, Ennio Morricone kind of, like, Western music to it. And also the whole world.
I was gonna say I really do like the music. Is it either at the beginning or at the end of the episodes? It's like
Ba-bum.
kind of badass Western. Yeah. That's the one. That's definitely not the one.
It's my Baby Yoda impression.
YouTubers screaming into a mic.
Anyway, good show. So, overall, definitely recommend The Mandalorian. Obviously, most of you have probably seen it. Now, I do believe it's time for...
Cnews.
So...
God, yeah. I'm always caught so off guard, yet I'm always ready for it.
This week's Tom Cnews is pretty underwhelming because it's kind of anti... It's like Tom anti-Cnews, really, because it's a news story and then it's not a news story. So I saw this...
It's the news that there's no Tom Cnews.
I should do that one week. So I saw this great headline. Tom Cruise reportedly buys robots to enforce COVID safety on film set. So it was alleging
How's this not good Tom Cnews?
Well, it was alleging that Tom Cruise bought these robots that, like, moved around the set, like, seeing if people were obeying COVID restrictions, which kind of sounded... like Tom Cruise hired a couple Terminators to, like, do his bidding. However, it is not true.
Sees a man sneeze, they just stab him.
Because I was imagining, like, the Dark Troopers from The Mandalorian? I was imagining those, like, just walking around the Mission Impossible set. But it's from The Sun, who are notoriously, like, tabloid, not very reliable. And it turns out it was not true. So, disappointment, but hey.
Damn. But hey.
News. And finally here...
Cruise just crawls out of your mouth.
And finally, here are the announcements and such for this week. First of all, Kane sent to me on Instagram the Young Rock trailer, which now he sent that to me as well. And then I sent it to you as well. So we've really been circulating this thing.
We were just bombarded with the Young Rock.
So I'm very happy to see, because I thought maybe it was going to be like a documentary or something. I'm very happy to see that it is like a dramatization, like Young Sheldon style of Dwayne The Rock Johnson's childhood years. Genuinely, I might even watch this. It looks kind of... It's kind of like half for the meme.
I might even bless this movie with my time.
But yeah, no, so Young Rock, go Dwayne?
Biggest question mark in all of Hollywood.
That's pretty epic. Fan page.
Now I feel personally attacked and insulted because the fan page did in fact pull a BHL Hudson on me. You see how after we complained about the last one, or you complained about how the Pedro meme.
I love this.
Oh, never mind. This is way better. And then they just.
Well, first of all, there's a Bourne meme, which I think is very fitting. Then there are two after I complained about Pedro memes against BHL, which sounds like a Facebook group.
It's a whole subreddit.
He posted, "Life is good, but it can be better." Going from FDK to the Poorly Planned Podcast, which, all right.
That one hurt.
Well, I think that one's fair. I mean, he did that for the BHL, so it has to do it. But then he did the Poorly Planned to BHL, and
But I don't get how. What's the transition? Because you've already lost to the Poorly Planned.
No, I think this one's more accurate. And well, I see you did comment blasphemy, which I appreciate. And then there's also here Jon Favreau's aesthetic lube scene couples retreat Yuwu on a certain website here, this meme, which is genuinely horrifying. But I think the final one we need now is a meme where it's life is good, but it can be better, and it goes from FDK Gaming to BHL Hudson. I think it has to happen, to be honest with you.
No, if that...
Why are we starting like a war on the fan page? So anyway, go check out the fan pages below, link down below.
Warfare with the medium of podcast fans.
Thanks to Kane and Pierce for the fan pages. Then the Reddit, I'm still going to do something with the Reddit. You'll see very soon. I got a thing planned. And then finally... if you're listening on YouTube, we are on iTunes. We are on Apple Podcasts and Spotify.
This happens literally every time.
And I even knew it as I said it. I was like, why am I doing this to myself? And if you're listening on Apple Podcasts or Spotify, we're on YouTube as well, where we post the pods along with a pod video every single Wednesday. And upcoming, there may or may not be a Ben and Fred watch in the pipeline. I don't want to get you too excited because copyright has often made these things much more difficult to put up than they should be. But if everything goes well, there may or may not be a BNFW coming your way. So, check out the YouTube channel.
I hope that episode just never makes the air.
It is quite a horrific one, mainly because of the movie we watch, which I don't think anyone will predict because no one asked for it, but I think people will still enjoy it. So... that's been a very long episode of The Poorly Planned this week. I'll have my hands full editing this in time for Friday. So, thank you very much for listening.
Yes? Oh, God, right. Honestly, before we do this, can we just applaud BHL's lack of anything else in life?
Well, you know,
I'm quite impressed that you managed to pull these out so fast.
Oh, thank you. No, I mean, with... a
weird, wholesome moment on the pod.
Yeah, I don't know how to feel about this.
Genuine love.
With lockdown and gap year and all that, I've tried to keep myself busy with working on videos and pods, and so it's all coming together pretty well. And when my social life comes back, then the pod will be dead immediately. But anyway, thank you very much for listening. You can find me on YouTube, BHL Hudson, Instagram, Twitter, BHL_Hudson. You can email the pod at bhlhudsonvids@gmail.com.
Ooh, you can find me on Twitter at FDK_DotSniper, on YouTube at FDK Gaming, and you can also find me on Instagram?
No.
Question mark? At FDalgard.
Well, thank you very much for listening, and we will see you next time.
Pedro. Pascal!